Sam had been resting his head on Carrie's stomach throughout his diatribe. After taking a few deep breaths, he sat up and asked, "Are you satisfied?" Before he heard the answer, he sensed he would not like it. Carrie had sunken into bed. She had pulled her puffy comforter, with yellow roses on it, up to where Sam's head lay, and was using him to warm the rest of her. Her eyes were closed, and the only reason he knew she was still awake was that periodically she would run her hand through his head of thick, dark hair. Instead of waiting for her to answer his question, Sam took the initiative. Barely, he touched his lips to her neck many times over, and then nibbled at her ear before kissing her on the lips. Her kiss back was warm and tender, but not deep as he had hoped. Sam tilted his head up to see Carrie's eyes were now open, but sleep was creeping into them. "Mon ami, getting tired?" No, I'm fine." "Okay." Sam began kissing his way down her body once more, and once more he was held up by a hand yanking on his hair. "How do you have so much energy?" Carrie checked her phone. Audio from a snap made Sam jump. "They were at 18th Avenue, Carrie said to explain the EDM. "So you work 6 hours and it's 4 in the morning. When did you get up?" 4 in the afternoon. I'm always down there. My sleep schedule is fucked." Sam's chin was resting on his hands, which were resting on her belly button. Her hand was still in his hair. "You still haven't finished your story." "Yeah, I have." "No, you still haven't told me why you got hit. Also, tell me why you don't like JJ." "Why don't I like JJ? I don't not like JJ. We're like brothers. We both started working at 18th Avenue around the same time. He's a complicated fellow, somewhat duplicitous. We have opposing views on lots of things. He can also get upset when proven wrong. As can I suppose." Perking up a skosh, Carrie asked, "What sorts of disagreements? Like about what? And why do you feel the need to prove him wrong?" A brief yet raucous political dispute popped immediately to his head, but then a more fundamental difference led Sam in another direction. "JJ has this girlfriend." Sam started, then paused, and decided to reframe the answer with a more general description of JJ's various personae. JJ is an elite business student with a real gift for finance. His ear is also pierced, and one night he got a tattoo on his ass. I think of the Wu-Tang Clan logo. Frequently, too, he changes fashion. Sometimes he is reserved, sometimes rather avant-garde. For every style he seems to have a matching pair of boots. He loves to play provocateur, yet often wishes to be left alone. At times he speaks nobly of the purity he desires in his bride-to-be. On the other hand, he can tell impressive stories of conquest ad nauseum. So his girlfriend, she's a freshman on the dance team. According to JJ, she was a virgin before she started dating him, and he tells us these stories of whatever it is they do, involving wax and what have you. Wax? Carrie ran her fingernail along Sam's sternum. Is that a suggestion? I don't know, Sam. You sound awfully jealous. Why do you care how they spend their time? Why do I care? I don't care. You asked why I don't like him. We let his girlfriends, some of her roommates, teammates, and sorority sisters in, and a few of them her roommates. They always have to babysit her. From what they tell me, her and JJ are always in a fight. That is when they're not. Well, you get the idea. Like I said, a complicated character. I'm really not sure if that had anything to do with why we fought. Why'd you fight? Carrie asked with her eyes shut, her fingers feeling around Sam's unusually bony clavicle. I'm not really sure what else you want to know. What happened? The gory deets. What did you say to him before he went after you? Must we relive the bloody past, Sam moaned. The gory deets, a hell of an expression. Sam, really. I know you live in the moment and all. You don't like talking sometimes, but when you come over with your face beaten in, you've got to be able to tell me how it happened. It's not beaten in, it's just Sam! This is fresh. I haven't had time to digest this all. I don't know what to say. I can't help it, and you pressing me. I'm not sure. It was a strange encounter, that is all. Boys being boys. You're worried for no reason. Carrie bit Sam's nipple and regretfully spat half a hair out on his chest. Sam, for fuck's sake, I don't get you. You make life so complicated. She grabbed his cheeks and forced him to look at her, and spoke slowly. Whatever you are trying to hide, tell me. It will be okay. You don't really want to know. Besides, you look like you're going to fall asleep any second. I'm awake, don't worry. She ran her hand across Sam's cheek, softly touching his short, scruffy beard without touching the skin beneath it. You're embarrassed, it's cute. You really want to know what happened, don't you? I fucked up, I'm telling you, it's no good. Promise you won't be mad? He saw Carrie nodding with a smile. He took a second and blurted out, To be clear, the ship has sailed on sex, right? Carrie palmed Sam's face. If we're not fucking, at least let me lie down. Sam readjusted, so his head rested on the pillows, and his arm was underneath and around Carrie's neck and shoulders. Carrie was lying now with her head on his chest. Sam looked down at the girl twirling his chest hair around her fingers and smiled. So our boss is upstairs talking to the guy. JJ and I are at the bottom of the stairs. I'm screaming at him. Why'd you stab me in the back? What the fuck? Go fuck yourself. So on and so forth. And you're right. That's when shit started to get personal. JJ told me that he wouldn't have to undermine me if I wasn't trying to fight people all the time, which I guess, in a sense, is true. I don't start fights, but once I am certain someone is going to be physical, I try and use technique to control them without giving them a chance to hit me. Ideally, this happens fast, and never looks like a fair fight. There's a true art in that, when you do it right, which I guess is kind of fucked up, but it's true. That's probably why JJ saying that pissed me off. Sam looked down to get a read on Carrie, but she was quiet, with her eyes closed, still twirling his chest hair, so he continued. I told him that he was full of shit, and that at least our manager hadn't seen me chug a beer last night. JJ told me to shut the fuck up, and that I was drunk anyways. Then I started yelling at him about how he lets shit go all the time, only to avoid trouble. For instance, that night, before we got busy, some people started bitching at him about cover, and he just let them in to get them out of his face. I'm not saying I've never done it, but he does shit like that all the time, and, well, that's besides the point. So I'm yelling at him about work shit, and he starts yelling back about how all I do is walk around and hit on girls, which is actual bullshit. But again, besides the point. As we're yelling back and forth, JJ just looks at me and is like, wanna fight? And I was like, no. So then he starts telling me I'm scared, and of course I go, fuck you, and puff out my feathers. Sam looked down again. It had been a while since Carrie had played with his chest hair. I'm sorry I'm ranting. Are you gonna let me know before you fall asleep? No, it's good. Keep going, Carrie mumbled before letting out a yawn. Her eyes were closed, but she sensed Sam admiring her, and the sensation warmed her through as she curled tighter to Sam. Sam kissed her gently before saying, You know I care too. I know. Sam also closed his eyes, and they kissed until their kiss said all it could. Carrie shook her head, tucked farther into the covers, and rubbed her eyes. Sam was breathing deeply through his diaphragm. All right, where was I? We were yelling back and forth, and well, pretty much out of nowhere, he mentioned he'd been talking to this waitress, Kitty, about me, who when I first started working, you probably know her from school. Carrie stirred at the mention. Kitty, seriously? Is she spelling it with a Y or an I these days? How was that? You never told me. Scary, very scary, Sam said, mimicking Kitty's petrified gasp. JJ mentioned they were talking and she was telling him all my dirty secrets. Carrie opened her left eye to ask, What did she tell him? I had no idea. It could have been any number of things. Later when we talked, well, I might have overreacted. I don't think she told him as much as I was led to believe. At the time I assumed the worst. God only knows what she remembers. If she had remembered the whole truth and told him, that would have been humiliating. Sam saw Carrie was once again peering at him through her slightly cracked left eye. The moon had shifted positions in relation to the crack in the blinds, as had Sam's position in relation to Carrie. Sam took a moment to appreciate how her face was cast in shadow on his bare chest. Her look was unmistakably interrogative. Some of it wouldn't surprise you, and some is between me and her. Her and I? No matter. Finally, I evenly remarked to JJ, that your mother is a whore and your sister a mad cow are no reasons to torture that poor dancer, nor yourself. That isn't actually what you said. No, I wish. Fine, I'll tell you. He told me based on their conversation that I was a sick, twisted fuck, just like him. On the spot, the most clever thing I could think to call him was an arrogant bastard with no clue what he was talking about. Then, I added that he's a real pussy, whatever that meant, for good measure. That'll do it. Carrie perked up, and she grabbed Sam's thumb, which had been nervously running along her neck. Without opening her eyes, she kissed Sam on the cheek. Not so much with her lips, but by pressing their cheeks together and making a kissing noise in his ear. She then planted her lips directly on the contusion above his eye. Truth hurts, huh, she said. Yeah, you could say that. Sam exhaled and felt his body sink into the mattress. It's funny when you think about it. I train at least 3 times a week. I've been going for almost a year, and still, my immediate reaction when he shoved me was to shove him right back. The entire time we'd been arguing, I didn't move to get a good position, didn't put my hands up, didn't even bend my knees. I was simply in a rage. As I was going to shove him, he tackled me. I guess you might call it a blast double, but really it was a tackle. At least when I hit the ground, I instinctually wrapped him up in guard. He slammed me pretty hard, and I barely saw the first punch coming. I have a really vivid memory of feeling my arm going up to block the punch, and seeing his fist pass well in front of my hand. It didn't knock me out or anything. I was lucky it wasn't closer to the chin, but it's hard to explain, it sort of alerted me. Not so much that I was aware of what I was thinking, but enough so that my techniques were activated on instinct. When he tried to hit me again, my arm was already up. So as he was punching, I wrapped up the arm. I got bicep control on his left arm and started shrimping, and as soon as I saw I was going to be able to get my knee through, I knew I had him. Seriously, I can't describe the feeling. It was incredible. I wish you'd seen it. Shit, you have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? Sam's smile was wide, prideful, and carefree. He looked down at Carrie, counting on her enthusiasm. She wasn't smiling. You're asleep, aren't you? He thought about nudging her, but thought better. Carrie? Sam sat silently with his smile for a minute and looked around her room. On the corner of her desk there was a lava lamp, and he watched it flow. Sam used his arm that wasn't around Carrie's shoulder to pry and wriggle his trapped arm free without waking her up. Turning on his side, Sam tried to sleep, with his bruised eye throbbing on the pillow, and the back of the hip he'd fallen on aching as well. Sam rolled for a book she'd left on the nightstand, Carrie's copy of Looking for Alaska. Earlier that week she had showed him the back cover and told him he had to read it. He grabbed his phone and turned on the flashlight. Glaring at the screen until it went black, Sam wondered whether or not to set an alarm. The birds were beginning to chirp. Sam decided not to bother. Settling in, he opened to the first page.